Good morning, everyone. So we're going to start the semester off by talking about forces. This entire module, which is Module K, is going to be mainly about forces. And we're going to talk about magnetic forces, electric forces, friction, air resistance, all types of forces. We're going to be discussing them in this module, not just in this lesson. So this module is going to take like at least 4 to 5 lessons about forces, about the different kinds of forces, of course. And that's interesting because I love that. That's part of physics. Now, this is Module 1, Unit 1, Lesson 1. Module K, Unit 1, Lesson 1. And today we're going to be talking about... here. What is a force? Sorry. So first of all, what is a force? A force is basically a push or a pull that can change a motion of an object. Okay, anything that changes a motion of any object is a force. Okay, so this is he's pushing the cart. He's pulling this. So these are all types of forces. So there's always forces acting on objects. Whether it is moving or not, there's always a force acting on any object. Okay, look at any object in your room and you see, like, for example, a book on your table, and you think, oh, there's no force acting on that book. But that's not true. Okay, there is a force acting on that book, which is gravity. See, you got a table, you got a book on the table. See, there's gravity that's pushing the book down, and there is the table pulling the book up. So there are forces acting on that book, even though it is not moving. So again, a force is a push or a pull that causes an object to move, to stop moving, or to change direction. So this is the definition of a force. That's very important. In physics, a force is anything that makes an object accelerate. Accelerate means to change its space, whether it was not moving and then it started moving, whether it was moving and then it stopped moving. This is also part of changing in motion. Accelerate means change in motion. Okay, so force is any change in motion of an object. Okay, so we have two types of forces. We have contact and non-contact. Okay, so contact forces are basically forces that require touch. Okay, let's go look at this. Like, for example, this is one example of a contact. Now we're going to see the contact forces. So these are all the types of forces. We're going to see them in detail later on. So this is an applied force. It's a type of contact force. Why? Because it requires this person to be in contact with the box in order for him to move it. He cannot move the box without touching it or without anything touching it. So he is in contact through a rope in order to move this. He's in contact with this metal bar in order to move it. So this is called applied force. Applied force is any push or pull. Okay, and applied force is any push or pull, and it's a contact force because it requires contact. Okay, friction is also a contact force. For example, this guy is able to slide on the slopes of this mountain because of the snow. The snow reduces friction, but he's not able to do the same sliding if he were here on the grass. Okay, the grass increases friction. Okay, he's trying to pull this guy is trying to pull this box, but because of the friction force this way, he's not able to. Now, for example, to reduce friction, he can put some soap here or some oil, and he'll be able to pull the box easier. Oil and soap can reduce the friction. You have air resistance. That's also a contact force because you're touching the air. Friction is a contact force because there's touching here. This air resistance is also a contact force. It's when, for example, the gravity is making this person fall to the ground, but air resistance pulls him back up. And that's why when you have something like a parachute, air resistance works very well to pull the person opposing gravity. It's a type of force that air exerts on moving objects. So air is exerting a force on a moving object, so that's also air resistance. It's contact. You have spring force. That's super easy. It's the elastic force. It's a force exerted by bending or stretching an object, like this one. You see the object is being stretched, the spring is being stretched, so this is elastic force or spring force. You have the other type of forces, which are non-contact. Now all of these that passed before, which is spring forces, air resistance, friction, applied force, these are all contact forces. Now we move to non-contact forces. Okay, non-contact forces means forces that do not require two objects to touch in order to exert a force upon each other. For example, you have two balloons here. Okay, and this is an electric force. Electric force is non-contact because these two balloons are able to push each other apart because they are both negatively charged, and negative charges, okay, are they repel each other. So when you put these balloons close together, they don't touch, they pull each other apart without touching. So this is non-contact forces. When you have negative charges and positive charges, okay, they are attract. Okay, a balloon is able to attract without touching because of static electricity. This is a non-contact force. Okay, this is an example. Also, an example of a non-contact force is magnetic forces. Okay, you don't have to, if you bring, magnetic has north and south. This is another bar magnet. Let's say it has north and south. If you bring the south to the south here, they will repel each other, okay, from a distance. They don't have to touch each other to exert a force towards each other. That makes magnets non-contact force. It doesn't require the magnets to be touching in order to exert a force upon each other. You also have gravitational force. It's a non-contact force. Okay, gravity doesn't have to touch you in order to pull you down to the ground. Okay, gravity is a non-contact force of attraction that exists between any two objects that have a mass. Okay, on Earth we experience gravity as a downward force. We experience gravity as a force that pulls us down to the ground. Without gravity, we'd be flying around. Okay, so these are the differences between contact and non-contact forces, and these are some of the types of forces. Now, you don't have to know electric forces in detail. For example, you don't have to know magnetic forces in detail. That's why, because we're going to be taking an entire lesson about magnets. We're going to be taking an entire lessons about electric forces. Okay, so you just have to know that these are contact and non-contact forces, but in detail we'll be talking about these later on, okay, in this module, but not necessarily this lesson. All you have to know now is that you have a lot of types of forces, and some of them are contact, some of them are non-contact. This, okay, and you have to know which forces are contact and which forces are non-contact. That's all you gotta know for now. Okay, we'll continue this lesson in next video.